Unit 3 Learner's Challenge Medieval Sub-Saharan Africa and the Americas. Geography of West and North Africa. First is the Sahara Desert. Right here. It has extreme climate, has high temperatures up to 136 degrees Fahrenheit. Very little rain, meaning only certain plants and animals that can survive these conditions live in this area. And it separates North Africa up here from the rest of the continent, which creates a major culture gap between these two areas, the people of those two areas. Next is the inland delta, right here. Whoops. Outlined by the Niger River, or just Niger, the Niger. Contains marshes and swampland, and it used to provide rich agricultural land and other great resources after it flooded. Still remains very resourceful today, especially for agriculture. Next, lastly, is the Sahel. Borders or outlines the edge of the Sahara Desert, as you can kind of see between these two maps. Much income in this area is accumulated through agriculture, and many live here as the conditions are not nearly as extreme as the Sahara Desert. Okay then. Ghana Empire. These are medieval West African empires. Ghana Empire was from the 300s to 1100s. The Soninke people invaded neighboring territories with iron, weapons, and horses, is where they came from. Society and politics. They were divided into different clans, they were animists, and there was matrilineal succession. They were introduced to Islam from traders. Economics. Most wealth came from trade of gold and salt, but also they made money from taxing traders. Traders, not Tratiors, I think. No, whatever. The capital became less popular in trade, and the countries below it, like down here, became more profitable and powerful, and that's how they fell out of power. Next is Mali Empire, 1235 to 1400s. The Mali Empire emerged after a man named Sundiata allied with other chiefs in this area to conquer the Soso kingdom, which was around this. They had conquered this area at the time. Timbuktu attracted many scholars with the Great Mosque, and Timbuktu also had many schools where people could learn Islam and also other topics. They had mainly patrilineal succession, and Mali had a merchant class called Dula, who came from the Ghana Empire, but they just remained in the area. Through trade, religion spread. Sundiata re-established the gold and salt trade that had fell in Ghana, and Timbuktu became very important in trans-Saharan trade. They began to see a decline in popularity and influence, and they were taken over by the Songhai Empire. Finally is the Songhai Empire from 1450 to 1591 CE. They conquered and took control of the Mali Empire is how they got to be. Society and politics, patrilineal succession, hierarchical classes. Yeah, good enough. Nobility, freemen. Nobility at the top, freemen in the middle, and then slaves at the bottom. And there were many battles over succession. Economics, some agricultural activity brought income. It's misspelled, but wealth mainly gained from taxes on imports and trade of gold and salt. Wealth was mainly gained. Finally, their fall. They were conquered by troops from Morocco, which had gunpowder weapons. They were able to conquer them, well, one obviously because they had like gunpowder-powered weapons, but also because they were currently in a civil war, or it was before this, I don't really remember, and they were very weak at the time. Next, African migration. The Bantu migration was in this area. You can see all these arrows going in different directions. The ends of the arrows are where they ended up. It occurred over thousands of years, and it started in Central and West Africa. Some explanations for this move are overpopulation, famine, and just search for new land and new resources. The Bantu-speaking people spread, and with them came the introduction of farming and iron tools in new areas. They also spread their language and culture. North and east migration up here, these blue arrows, started in the Nile area and also from Southwest Asia. They migrated along the coast, and multiple cultures began to blend because they were coming from multiple directions. One prominent kingdom in this area, called Damat, reigned supreme and started trading in Africa and Arabia. Next, medieval African empires. There's many kingdoms flourished during medieval times in Africa, but here are a few of them. I picked 5. First is Great Zimbabwe, which was down here. It's not on this map, but it's in this area right here. They got wealthy from trade of gold, iron, and copper. They were skilled craftsmen and builders. Skilled craftsmen and builders made pottery and stone architecture. Next is Axum, which is up here. Modern-day Ethiopia. They had a rich, influential trade market. They traded ivory, glass, gold, and some other things. And they also adopted Christianity. Next is Swahili, which is down here. I don't know if it's on this map. I can't tell. Established ports of trade along the coast, and these ports were visited by Arabs and from other people, and they had a strong Muslim base. Next is Meroe. Wow, this map is different, but it's like around here. Modern day Sudan. They prospered through iron and farming, and they also made some pyramids like Egyptians. And then finally the Oromo, also not here, around this area. They're fierce warriors. They're great herders and farmers, and they traded coffee. That's how they got wealthy. And they raided neighboring territories in search of resources. Next up, early Mesoamerican and Andean civilizations. You've got, for Mesoamerican, you have Olmec, which were 1200 to 400 BCE. Their influence spread throughout Mesoamerica. They had a hieroglyphic writing system. They were polytheistic, and their name comes from some word that's similar to it, which it means rubber, and that was because they created rubber from trees. They built stone heads, monuments, and tombs, and they had a complex society and complex trading. Next is Zapotec, 700s BCE to 1521 CE. They took control of the Olmec area after they had fallen out, and they had complex architecture. They constructed a city called Monte Alban, very important city. Zapotec people remain today, but in different areas, but their language and culture still remains. And then Andean civilizations, you have Chavan from 900 to 200 BCE, dominated the coast, is very influential, and they made a temple in the side of a mountain. Those ruins are still, those were what were found. And this society united local groups together. It was their first, unification of different local groups in South America. And they lived in the highlands of the mountains, Andes Mountains. I don't remember. Nazca, 200 BCE to 600 CE. They lived in the valleys of the Andes. They had polychrome pottery and lines in fields that they made to represent plants and animals, like if you look from a helicopter view or something like that. Mochi, 400 BCE to 800 CE. Northern coastal Peru, ruins of temples from a large city. The taller members were fed better, and they had impressive pottery and metalwork. Finally, early Central and South American civilizations. First is Maya, 250 to 900 CE. Southern Mexico, they lived in modern-day southern Mexico, Guatemala, and northern Belize. They had 20-plus cities and over, 2 million citizens, if you call them citizens, I don't know. Impressive stone structures. They had hieroglyphics written language. They were polytheistic, and then they were later introduced to Catholicism. They had an astrology-based camera, and they unfortunately fell due to drought and overpopulation. Inca was from 1438 to 1533 CE, so not super long, only about 100 years. They lived in modern-day Peru. Ethnic groups were separated, and they had a tax of labor, meaning you paid your taxes by doing labors, and by doing this they were able to complete large, impressive construction projects. Machu Picchu was an important city. They built terraces, which was an agricultural, architectural feat. They were polytheists. They had built pyramids, roads, suspension bridges. They had distinct social classes, and again, they fell to Spanish conquistadors. Finally, Aztec. They started as hunter-gatherers. They lived in northern Mexico, as you can kind of see on this map right here. They were polytheistic, and they converted lakes to farmland. They had social classes, farmers, artisans, and guilds, like merchant guilds, artisan guilds. They had a ritual calendar, and they also, like Inca, fell to Spanish conquistadors. And that's it. Thank you for watching.